And we're live, it seems. Good evening, good morning to wherever people are. I'm Nika.
Maria.
And we're from In Motion. We're talking to you today from Germany.
And the Florida Keys.
And our special guest that we have today is from Australia. So we're in very different time zones. In Germany right now, it's 11 o'clock at night. Maria, what time is it at your place right now?
Oh, it's about happy hour, around 5 or so.
Perfect timing. And then I think Piers, our guest that is going to join us in a minute, it's early morning for him. I think it's around 9 o'clock, but he can tell us all about that in a minute. We're a very small group today, it seems. So who are we having here today? Anybody?
Oh my God.
Say hi. I think we have Terry. Hello, Terry. Where are you from? Maybe you want to leave us a message.
We have poolside Paul.
Oh, our Paul from Yadrawena. Ah, nice.
He's chilling by the pool today.
Oh, it seems that the Facebook not working?
Yeah,
we'll see.
It is for me.
Oh, it's streaming? Okay, great. So we're also streaming this on Facebook at the same time. And then we also have Mitchell joining us today. So we're a very small crowd. So I'm sure we'll be able to answer all your questions. Make sure that you put them down in the question sections where it says ask a question. And then we'll get to those after our little interview. So yeah, those of you that don't know us, we're the founders of In Motion. And currently we're running a crowdfunding campaign to outfit 8 sailboats with recycling machines because we're creating a recycling fleet of recycling ambassadors that will sail around the globe and spread create awareness about the potential of small-scale recycling in remote coastal areas. And yes, those recycling machines are an extruder and a shredder, and we have a partner company that is producing those machines for us. And we have Piers here today with us. He is from Precious Plastic Melbourne, and we're going to call him up on stage so he can tell you all about his wonderful company.
Hey, California.
Sorry?
I said, I like to be in
California, yes. What time is it in California? Probably...
it's a little later. Earlier, rather.
A little earlier than it used to. Hello, Piers.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. Early morning Sunday it is, I think, on your end, right?
Yeah, that's right. 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. So I behaved myself last night. I'm fresh.
Thank you so much for sparing some time on your precious weekend for talking to us. We're going to give you the we're going to give you the big screen because today everything is going to be about you and your workspace. Exactly, your workshop and about Precious Plastic Melbourne. So yeah, maybe you just want to introduce yourself shortly and your company, what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing.
Yep, no worries at all. All right, so I guess I'll go back to the very beginning as to why we're here. So we have another company, we're called Cremajo, which you can see on my t-shirt here. We've been running that company for about 6 years now. And the focus is reusable coffee pods, so for Nespresso machines and whatnot. We're obviously very environmentally focused, and that was our bread and butter for a little while, e-commerce. And the reason we found ourselves in precious plastic, which is a little bit different, is because we were looking to manufacture our own products that aligned very well and worked well with our reusable coffee pods. We looked overseas, we looked locally, and things were either too expensive or too risky. And obviously didn't align with, I guess, the type of materials we wanted to make our products out of. It needed to be, ethical and responsible. So I guess long story short, we found precious plastic and we realized that you could build the machines. They're open source machines. You could build shredders, injection machines, extruded machines. At that point, I didn't know what any of those things were.
Like any of us.
That's right. This is 2 years later, so it's not that long ago. So we thought, okay, cool, let's look at that. And I have a machine fabricator and designer who was able to look at the blueprints and I guess work it out and weld them together. And we found a mold maker locally, and we said to them, look, we want to get this mold for this product, and it was probably more expensive than the machines were that we just built. So that was a little bit scary at that point, but we found another tool maker in Germany. So his name was Frederick, and he's from Easy Molds. So Frederick was really, really easy to deal with, and he made our first set of molds. So the product itself, I want to show you, is this here. So this is what we call the perfect press. The idea is the coffee capsule goes inside, the funnel goes over top. Our customers will put the right amount of coffee in and tamp it down, and then you've got a coffee pod made. And the idea was, the reason we created it was because we had customers saying, oh, it's not consistent, or the coffee's coming out too weak, or it's barely coming out. This way just created a very consistent coffee. It was the same every single time. So that was our launching product.
Oh, that's so cool. I saw that on your Instagram, and I was wondering, what is this product? And I couldn't figure it out. It's great that you're explaining.
It's like perfect size.
Yeah. And so when we were about to launch, that was when COVID hit Australia, and everybody went into panic mode and started closing businesses down. And that was when we sort of stopped at that point. Now we're sort of almost 2 years later, and we've done a whole heap, which I suppose we'll answer throughout the chat today.
Awesome, great. That's a really cool way of starting. And now you have a whole workshop around you. Maybe you can tell us a little bit what machines you actually have there. Oh.
Sure. All right. So I guess, it has changed a lot in the last 2 years. So right as the pandemic hit, when we were about to launch our product, we quickly realized there was a local issue that we were facing, and that was wearing masks for the first time. So we quickly had a local tool maker help us make an ear saver. So it was something that goes around the back of your neck and holds onto your masks, and was able to sort of bring a bit of relief to your ears. So we made these little ear savers, and in making these, I made about 400 or so. It went really, really well straight away, and obviously it was really exciting. But that was when we had the precious plastic equipment where you had to pull down a big lever. So as you can imagine, my back was killing me sort of after doing 400 or so.
It's a good gym workout.
Exactly. Yeah. But I guess when you're doing a task like that, no. When you're doing a task like that, you can't help but think, there's got to be a faster way. There's got to be a quicker way of doing the same thing. So we actually cut up our injection machine and hacked it onto this machine you can see behind us. So that was from our local hardware store, the red part. It's a log splitter. So that's the purpose of it is to split logs for your fireplace. And we figured, look, why can't we do the same thing? So the idea is you pull down a lever, and the barrel travels up onto the rod, and plastic comes out the other end. If you're familiar with the precious plastic equipment, you can understand
amazing.
Yeah, we've got a couple of YouTube clips if anyone wants more details on that. But that made it a lot easier to do things. It meant my back was good, and it meant we could sort of get through things a lot quicker, which is fantastic. But then we realized, well, there's going to be a safer way of doing things, So I'd always been looking at local sites, local secondhand sites. What else can we buy? What else can we sort of add into our workspace? And we bought this commercial injection machine, which is probably it's probably 50 years old. It was made in Cleveland, Ohio, and it had been making car parts here for the local industry for probably 30, 40 years. It was about to go to the scrap heap if we didn't buy it. So
you saved it.
Yeah, we saved it. It didn't cost a great deal of money. So we're able to pick up that unit, our extractor fan, and a granulator for like a couple of $1,000s. It was really an amazing find, just the right time, right place. We can't build machines for that much money. So yeah, it was just a blessing. We found that, and that's sort of our workhorse at the moment. That produces the majority of our parts. and we've got a larger extruder, and we've obviously got a few benchtop models, and the granulator is over there. So the granulator is actually was made in Japan in the 80s. It's still going. So, some of this old equipment is pretty cool as well.
Machines, man. They just keep going.
They just keep going, right? And yeah, exactly right. So it's hard to find something that good and obviously affordable.
Exactly.
The whole precious plastic community is about reusing and finding better solutions to problems that are usually out of reach. So we're pretty happy.
Just give it
That's
some
really cool.
Going.
Yeah.
And so in your workspace, the work that we do within Motion, we usually work with mostly with ocean plastic that we pick up from the beaches. And in your workspace, I think you're mostly working with post-consumer plastic, right? Stuff that comes directly from people's houses to your workspace. Like how does that work? Do people bring that to you, or?
Yeah, it's a bit of a story, but I'll give you a brief version. So a few years ago, there was a company that were their mission was to 3D print prosthetic limbs for children as like interim prosthetics while they're waiting for their real prosthetics.
Okay.
And they were doing that, and then they decided, let's see if we can use bottle tops, because there's a waste problem that we could solve at the same time. And so they started collecting, and they put out a few news articles and said, "Hey, can you send your bottle tops?" And 3 months into the program, they realized these bottle tops are just not suitable. And the kids were complaining they were a bit too either rigid or they were a bit too soft. But at that point, they received 1 million bottle tops.
Wow, 1 million.
That's right, 1 million bottle tops. Yeah, 3 months later, because there was an organization that set up. They were called Lids for Kids. And they set up nationally around Australia to collect bottle tops to send directly to this company.
Wow.
But at that same point, they said, whoa, we've now got too many. And actually, the program didn't work out. So Lids for Kids, that's right. So Lids for Kids kept going, kept collecting, because it is hard to stop collecting rubbish when you've started, because you can see it everywhere. So they kept going. And it was hard because it was a volunteer base to get the message out there quick enough to say, please, no more lids, because the organization had closed down. So we put our hand up and said, hey, we've also been collecting lids, and we realized that it's quite resource intensive.
Yes.
We put a sign on our door, and you'd get there in the morning, there were boxes of rubbish, that we had to sort through, and that stopped us.
Oh, they were unsorted.
Yeah, exactly. Dirty, unsorted. Like there was a whole heap of issues there. And we quickly realized, well, we're spending all our time with that part of it, not with this part of it. So we spoke with Lids for Kids, and we said, look, you've got this great network. We need a solution as well. You need a solution. Let's work together. So they dropped off their first 200,000 lids to us. Right at the beginning of that pandemic, and we're still getting through them. There's still we're probably getting another 400 kilos or so a month from them. And there's and we're just working with one small collector here. The Lids for Kids network is broken right up across Australia, split into territories so they can manage it. So there will be a coordinator in different parts of the state, and then they will work directly with people like myself.
Okay, and they get the lids from people, and they wash them and sort them, or
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say yourselves, you would have milk or juice at home. You would then wash your lid out and you'd save it, and then every week or so, when you're walking past the collection point, you drop it off. And so there's collection. So there's people, collection points, and then coordinators, and then it comes to us after that. So it's a pretty organized
that's so cool.
system, which is really great. Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
really fantastic.
Well, and that's really great because your material is taken care of. So that's really, for us, we've seen in the community recycling workspace that we set up in Costa Rica, that the part of actually sorting and cleaning is the most labor intensive, actually. Like it's like the worst part, let's say, and it's the part that people don't really find that interesting. I mean, making the product itself is obviously a little bit more exciting than the cleaning of it all. So that's great that you have someone that is an organization that's taking care of all of the
we're really lucky. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many how many kilos of plastic do you go through in a month, more or less, like roughly? I guess it depends a little, but
Roughly, yeah. So we receive about 400 kilos. We're probably using a similar amount depending on the project. So we're not just now we're not just making products for ourselves. We're making them for businesses and small business, large business, just depending on what the project is. We're lucky that we're only one of a small handful of people that are doing what we're doing here. So it's pretty hot right now. I guess people are really into local manufacturing because there are challenges with overseas, purchases, but also the sustainability side is in everybody's faces at the moment. You know, people are really concerned. So those two things are really great for what we're doing, and obviously we want to spread the message. So that's what we're doing. You know, we want people to do this like with us, because there's lots of waste and there's lots of resources out there to use.
Sure.
yeah, that's a very interesting topic that you're talking about, like the circular economy. Basically, like you're working with lots of companies, right? That where you're using their trash that they're producing and you transform it into products that they will be using for their company, correct?
Right, I'll give you an example. So we've got a company here. They're called Dirt Company, and they actually make laundry powders and washing detergents. And what they do is they I guess originally they sell a bigger bottle to their customers, and then the customers subscribe to refill packs. So every whatever the period is, they receive their next refill pack, and then with that refill pack, they empty it into the bottle, send the refill pack back to the company, and it gets refilled and sent to somebody else. And it's a way of cutting down on waste. It's an amazing concept. But then the refill packs will reach their end of life. After maybe 6 or so returns, they're probably at a risk of exploding, I guess, or becoming weaker. So that's the point they've decided this is the safe point where we will retire that product. And up until this moment, they didn't have a solution, but they weren't up to 6 uses either. But they found us, and now so they send the refill packs to us. So these are the refill packs. So you can see it's just getting to the light there. Hang on. So I'll bring it closer. So that's a refill pack. It's a little spout, and they can pour that into the bigger bottle, and then from here it comes to us, and we get it by the box load, and we pop it in our shredder. And it turns into a really light flake, which I guess to any other recycler, that's a problem. It's a bit of a pain, but we're small, we're nimble, so we're able to sort of make it work. We put those flakes into our injection machine, and we're now turning them into their next product, which are scoops for their next launch. So the color's not great, but yeah. So those are the scoops that they create. We cut those little pieces off there. And they get put back into the mix again, so they become more scoops. So it's a zero waste solution for them, and a really circular product.
Yes, I love it. Awesome. What's the type of plastic of those bags?
Those are low density polyethylene, so it's like a classic plastic bag.
Bags, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really that's awesome. It really shows the possibilities of how these machines or how the system can help companies deal with their waste and be more thoughtful about it, like from the beginning.
And that's exactly the point. That's right. And companies should be thoughtful from the beginning. At the end of life, what can happen? What can it? Was it a container? Can it now be a plant pot? What happens next?
Yeah, and that it also is possible to be used by the company. And is it do companies contact you and they ask you for tailored solutions for their problems, or do you have to go and actually knock on doors and say, hey, we've seen this, we would like to help you? How's the procedure there at the moment?
For us, we haven't picked up the phone yet to make a sale, but we probably rely heavily on our social media. That gets a good reach. Not only are we, is it shareable? People can see it from their phones very conveniently. But we're reaching, other countries. We're working with people in Norway at the moment. Other side of the world. We're working with yourselves. You didn't find us because I called you. You found us because of social media.
Definitely.
So that's a really big thing for us. And from that, we're busy. So we don't have a quiet day, which is fantastic. And if
Which
we
is
do, we'll
really
pick up the phone.
Yeah. I'm putting your Instagram account in the comments for anybody that wants to check out Precious Plastic Melbourne. They have a really cool Instagram page. Yeah, and that's exactly how we found you. And it's great that company to hear that companies are actually on the lookout for this, and that you don't have to go look for them, but they find you.
Yeah.
With the change of times here, hopefully more and more.
Yeah.
Is there another product that you can, like, what other products have you made with companies?
Sure, yeah,
that
I've got plenty.
circular?
Yep. So I've
Because
got
I
plenty.
think it's
So
really interesting for people to see.
yeah, we worked with a company when we first got this machine. Actually, it was our first product. We made these little carabiners for a company called Everyday Humans, and they had some. I think they're an American-based company. They do a little bit of work here in Australia, a little bit of work in Malaysia. Singapore. They sent us some sample tubes that they had that they didn't know what to do with. And they said, hey, could you turn these into carabiners for our customers, and we're going to give them away. And we did. So that was what came out of this. And that was a low density polyethylene, which is traditionally pretty soft and flexible. This is a really tough, it's a really tough carabiner. So it's all within the design. We've made it a really tough plastic now.
Right.
Wow.
So that's something we worked with them. We're working with an Australian company. They sell beard care products. So we've made a couple of hair combs for them. So those are for your beard. And that's something, where a local company has found us because they want to sell something to their customers that is locally made and responsibly made. Right. Previously, they were buying them, by the thousands internationally. So they wanted a different solution. That's where they found us.
But this is made from the trash that you have, or are they also providing the trash?
Those are bottle top.
Okay.
There is another customer who sells. So her brand is Worthy, and they sell sugarcane plastic bottles. Right, so not a I guess a fuel, like an oil-based plastic, and we're making this is a sample we made, but we can use that plastic to make larger objects. This is a sample one, but something larger and pretty cool as well. So that's a little plate that we've made. We've made soap dishes. So this is a little shaving soap dish. So
I love those.
this
I need one of those.
Yeah, okay, I'll send some. So this company, they created a shaving soap. It's for men and women, and it's a bar of soap rather than a can of aerosol. And
That's
they
awesome.
said we want a case, a travel case. Again, pre-pandemic, that they were thinking having a travel case, but they needed something that would appeal to both men and women. So we've got a case, we've got different colors, and then so that's sort of what we've come up with. So this is actually an interesting one. We use the same mold on the top and the bottom, but we had a different top piece. So this one has the logo on it, and this one is smooth and flat.
Blank.
So we'll
wow.
Yeah, just to get the customer's cost down a little bit further, we're able to sort of innovate it. So that's that, and we're now making large sheets. So that is a 10 millimeter sheet. You can see how smooth it is.
You can do with those.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at our Instagram, a couple of posts back,
I have a little one too.
Oh, cool! Great colors. So we just did a job for Converse here in Australia, where we did a little bit of we helped them with the fit out of their new store. So if you have a look at our Instagram, we made a table.
That was the
for
table
them.
You showed. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. We made a table. We made some shoe shelves, about 81 shoe shelves, and a couple of different other tables. So yeah, that was a really fun project for us. And obviously, companies like Converse, who we all know, and are working with agencies who are able to find us, which is fantastic.
That is really awesome
to their customers too.
And did you build the whole furniture yourself, or did you just do the sheets and then somebody else did take care of the manufacturing of the furniture?
A bit of both. So we did provide the sheets for a lot of it. The table, you'll see the round table, we built that here. So I think the legs, the table itself was an existing table. So we just made the tabletop, but we cut down all of the sheets to size. We put them on to the tabletop. We routed the edges. We cleaned it up, made it look really nice. So yeah, we did a little bit of work. We probably did a lot more work on that table than anything else.
Oh, that's sweet. I can't wait to see the pictures of that store. That's really amazing. And for those that don't know, maybe so the work with the sheet that you just showed is pretty much like wood, right? I mean, you can work with the sheets pretty much like with any other, or not any other, but like as in a wood material.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite similar. So if you can see, so for example, I've got our sheet and I've got a piece of MDF. You know, they're about they're 10 mil each. They're the same. You can drill into both of them. You can screw into both of them. You can connect them, and that I think that is a really amazing product. That with the imagination that could turn this into things is just I mean, you can do a lot with just that. We are building a larger sheet press as well, so that'll do 1200 by 1200 sheets. So they're a bit more usable. You can cut them down and make furniture and stuff like that too. So that's something we're working on for next year.
That's amazing. Yeah, we're working on a cooperation with a company here in Hamburg as well, where we're making a stool, like a little chair, where the top is made from the recycled, like a recycled top as well.
Cool.
But we're still working on that. But that's going to be something pretty cool, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
well, and I see a very precious little machine sitting next to you there on the shelf. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about this particular machine, because as far as I know, that's the one that we're going to get for our sailboats, correct?
That's correct. So this is our benchtop extruder. To our knowledge, it's the first hand cranked extruder. Certainly here in Australia, we haven't seen another one, but look, they may exist. We designed and built this particularly with schools in mind, because we were starting to speak with schools, and there was a lot of red tape to sell a piece of equipment to a school. It obviously needs to be safe, number one priority. But then as you sort of drill down, it obviously needs to be easy to use. And there are a few different tick boxes. We wanted to make something that was safe, easy to use, fun to use. And I mean, something like this is really great for education, because we can all talk about recycling. We can say that, this bottle will go into this bin and be recycled. And it's a great story, but no one really understands what that means. And this way we can show them that, we can turn these bottle tops, we can granulate them or shred them into a plastic flake, and we can put it into this machine and we can melt it and turn it into something else. And I'll do a demonstration for you in a moment, but the idea was, it was a really great educational tool. And you can take these out. We take these out and we make these little carabiners, if we do a festival or an event, and I'm just making carabiners all day. And that's a really great way of showing something, and someone can have a tangible item to take home with them. And, that'll go in your keys or your bottle or your bag, and you've got it forever. There's no point this is not a single use plastic. This is not like another bottle top. This is something that you'll hang on to. It's a tangible item. So this is exactly right. So, and this is it's obviously portable. It's lightweight. This is made from steel, the base. It's got an acrylic front here. Yours will be aluminium, because we've got some issues being on the water. Obviously, we don't want them to rust or anything like that. So we're going to have a slight redesign, but ultimately it'll be this shape and size. And it's simple to use. Do you want me to do a demonstration on how to do it?
Yes, and when you say, just to talk about the specs a little bit more in detail, when you say it's portable, like how many kilos are we talking about?
13 kilos. I've got it hooked onto the bench here, but I'll show you.
Oh, that's great. So you can connect it. Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, that way it's got stability. If it's sort of rocking around, it's pretty, because it's light. But this is the unit. Hang on, I've got a mold on the top there.
Man, it's really nice and compact now.
Yeah. So that's the unit there. And obviously the handle is the movable part. It's got one temperature control, two band heaters, and a thermocouple. And those can be plugged in and replaced at their end of life. We haven't ever gotten to the point where they have stopped working, but if they do, they can be replaced. It's not a fixed item that you need to go get an electrician for.
Yeah,
we should be able to plug and play. That's sort of to make it easy for people, because if it's too challenging, again, people don't do it. So,
very true.
So that's obviously you can strap that into the bench, gives you more stability. There's a couple of little holes here on the base. We'll just use one for now. It's
well thought of.
it's got a really easy plug system in the back, same as like a computer screen. It's an IEC plug. So those are things you can buy, to fit where you are. This is running on 240 volts and probably uses the same amount of power as maybe a toaster or something like that. So not overly energy hungry. And the process is simple. You put the flakes in the top here. So this is in the hopper. It's hard to see because of the light, but there's a hopper here, and it travels down into the barrel. As you turn the screw, it travels along the barrel and out the end. So I'll quickly just do a demo. We've got the carabiner mold here. What I do is I just like to clear the nozzle because there's a little bit of plastic in there that's probably cooled down a little bit, and it turns into this little plug. So you can see that gets collected, and we put that back in the shredder, and it goes back into the mix.
Nothing goes to waste.
Nothing goes to waste. Yep. Little mold goes on here. Now with this mold in particular, I've got a little hole that we've filed into the back of it, so that we can see when the mold's full.
Okay. I was wondering
that's something. Yeah, with an extruder, it doesn't just stop. You can keep going, and the mold will probably split apart. So if I'm looking over here, it probably takes about 20 to 30 rotations. You can see it's not hard. It's pretty easy.
Really easy, yeah.
And that depends. It depends simply on what plastic you're using, what temperatures you're running it at. We find that a 3 mil to 5 mil flake size is all you need. If it's bigger than that, it sort of takes a little bit longer to sort of get it through. You need it to be, you need that bit of pressure. So if there's no pressure on there, it just doesn't move very quickly. Again, this mold here is.
Do you have right now?
This is HDPE, high density polyethylene.
And what temperature are you using right now?
This is 165, so it actually heats at a lower temperature. Yeah, that's right. You can see the end there. That's how I knew that it was full. Got a little hole there.
Yeah.
And if we take that apart,
and it's not so hot that you can touch it with your fingers without gloves. That's
at the moment it's not bad. If I'm doing this,
or you just gotten used to it.
That too. That too. So we trim off that little piece. We trim this little piece here off as well. So we've got some really sharp little snippers. And there we go. There was our carabiner. This mold again was from Easy Molds in Germany. It's the precious plastic carabiner. It's a very classic design from them. But yeah, we do molds here now because we found someone locally that we can work with very easily. Like you'd imagine, and I know you understand, when you work internationally and you've got different time zones, it's challenging. And when you've got to jump on Zoom and whatnot, sometimes a lot easier to pick up the phone, send a text message, go out and see them.
Definitely.
So we've got a local toolmaker that we work with that provides us a good price, which we then pass on to our customers. If this is expensive, and it is expensive, but if it's overly expensive, people may not do it. So we need to get costs down as best as possible. So we're encouraging this type of activity. So that's the carabiner there. That obviously it's good for the key ring.
Awesome.
It's not good for climbing walls or anything.
I was going to say, please do not climb with that.
Was it? Did the machine was it already plugged in, or was it that quick to heat up?
No, I've had it on. I've had it on this morning. Okay. So it probably takes 15 minutes or so to heat up to temperature. It's a pretty nifty little machine. It has a little switch on the front, so really easy to control and work out.
I think when you say when you say toaster, I think it's about 1.2 kilowatts that it takes, right? I mean, for sailors, that's always important because everybody has their inverter that's usually limited to some amount. So I mean, 1.2 kilowatts. That's for a sailboat, it's still quite something, but it's still doable. Like as in our fleet will be able to manage that amount of power, which is really good.
Yeah, and maybe less. Look, we know that it's not drawing too much. I'll get the stats for you though, so we'll figure it out.
Well, we'll be able to tell you because we all have the monitors on our boat. So when we plug it in, we'll be able to monitor it for you and then tell you exactly how much it's taking.
Cool. Yeah.
The initial startup.
So what are the oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
What are the limits of the product molds? Because I mean, it's a hand crank machine, so have a little bit less pressure than with the one where you inject the material into and you don't have a motor. So what's your limitation in size? Oh, we lost you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah,
No?
I got you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's going to come back to how you handle your molds, what the mold is. So when plastic melts, it melts like it sort of flows like water flows. So if it's got too far to travel, it may cool down.
Okay.
So for example, if it was going to do this particular product, the plastic comes in this way, and then it needs to fill up all of this space going this way here, and all the way
Right.
down to here, and all of this way, and all the way down these little teeth of the comb. It's a long way for this plastic to travel before it cools down. Once it cools down, it freezes and it blocks the
Right.
path for more plastic. So in order to do something like this, you would need a pretty hot mold. So it would need to stay hot so that the plastic can continue to melt and flow. But that's not always practical. So you don't want to get a heat gun and you're holding it on the mold, and obviously
Right.
then you need to cool it down. It's not a practical sort of experience. We have done something this size before in a low density polyethylene because it's very even. It's not traveling this way and that way. It's traveling in all directions at the same speed and the same time. That was possible, but it comes down to the mold. A nice, easy carabiner. It's pretty simple. It goes that way and that way in a short amount of time, and it doesn't take a great deal of time.
Not too many angles
actually
and
get there.
things, huh? Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah, because it flows. We can do we do these Jenga blocks. So this is a product that we're working on at the moment.
Great.
That's a really thick, chunky bit of plastic. It takes
Yeah.
longer to produce one of these than does a carabiner because it's so
Okay.
thick.
Yeah.
But that's something that's thick, and it's like, well, that's probably 10 mil. And yeah, so
Does
that's
that
sort of
take
something that's a little bit tricky.
injection then because it's thicker, or
What
does
was that,
it
sorry?
need to be quicker to inject then because the thickness filling it before the cavity sort of more
Yeah, look,
dries up?
no, with that particular mold, it's heading in a straight line. It's not so bad. It's just it keeps
Okay.
pushing it out. You may have the end of it may have so you can see this one. You can see you've got different. It's hard to see.
Oh yeah,
You've got different surface finishes. So you've got a really smooth
Sure.
one. This is the end of it, and then this is where the injection point was. So
Okay.
you can see that there's different textures that you receive. So it's all experimentation,
Sure.
which is why obviously you need to sort of start with something small, learn how to use the machine, understand sort of the limitations, but I suppose it just comes down to the plastic you're using and how you sort of manage the mold, whether you keep a heat gun on there or if you use low density polyethylene, you'll get a lot further. Whereas high density, you'll freeze a lot quicker.
Okay. Well, it's good that you're talking about the different types of plastic because there's a question from Mitchell who's wanting to know if any types of plastic can be combined when melted down for recycling.
It is a good question. In theory, potentially, maybe. So, for example, if you've got a low density polyethylene and a high density, they're both polyethylene. They can go together. However, the high density polyethylene will melt at a different temperature to the low density. So, let's say, for example, low density melts at 120 to 140 degrees, and high density melts at 160 odd degrees. You can have some really melted stuff and some not so melted stuff. So when that happens, it will obviously create some weird textures. That I think traditionally is probably okay. If you were to mix high density polyethylene with polypropylene, that's a no-no. So firstly, it won't be recycled again because you've got this weird mix of plastic. But that polyethylene, polypropylene will melt at 200 plus degrees, and that high density polyethylene will melt at lower. So they won't stick together properly. There's a few different factors there. Again, if you put PET or something weird like ABS or PVC, another big no-no. They just won't gel. It's like putting oil with sand or with water. They're just different. So they won't bond together. And obviously creates a product that then can't be recycled again. So
yes,
with our plastic, as I said, you cut off those little end pieces, the sprues, and you're able to put it back into the mix. we're able to put that back into the mix a lot of times. So we all hear traditionally, it can only be recycled 1 or 2 times. I call BS on that, when you do it this way, because it's the same plastic going in over and over. It's not mixing with another bottle top that's happened 5 times with, and a bottle that's happened, 3 times. It's the same, so we're keeping it very, very close here.
Right.
I don't know what the limit is. We've recycled plastic over and over and over 6+ times, and we don't see any difference. There may be some slight differences, no idea, but yeah, that's something we do. We recycle our recycled waste.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned that. I was wondering that too. It just started snowing here, by the way. It's the first snow of the year, and I have like a room here where I have like windows that are like in a shape like this, and I can see the snow coming down on the windows. It's very beautiful. Anyways, just a little thing. Well, one thing I wanted to talk to you about as well is we had some people comment and say, "Oh, why are you not using the precious plastic machines? It's cheaper to build them yourselves." And we have built the precious plastic machines ourselves and used them on the sailboat for 2 years, I think. For us, they were too big and too energy hungry, not portable enough. But also, what was a big factor for us was safety, because we wanted to work a lot with communities and kids, and we were concerned that the ones that we build were not up to par with safety standards, and as an organization we didn't want to provide machines to sailboats where we then had to worry that possibly kids could, or anybody could get hurt or something.
But
I think I don't think your machines do apply with safety standards, correct? Maybe you can tell something about
that's right. Yeah. So we working with schools, when we went through that red tape, we had safety standards to ensure that we met. So we had a big document, actually quite a few big documents to go through and to tick off, and that were things that so you couldn't touch the hot parts, or minimize the risk as best possible, have certain switches, having closed cases. And this machine, we were heading down that track anyway, but it just sort of validated that for us, I think. But for example, if you've ever walked past a fence that says wet paint, what's the first thing you do? You touch it, because you want to see if it's true. It's the same as if you took one of these machines somewhere and you said, "Don't touch that bit, it's hot," you get a kid going, "Is it really hot? How hot?"
Really?
So again, we can see everything, but I can put my hand here, it's not hot. I've got I can see the hot parts, but we're not going to burn ourselves. There is the end nozzle here is hot, but it's just like putting your finger in a toaster. We're just minimizing the risk. It's in there, but you shouldn't be able to really put your finger in there and touch it. Or if you do, you're going to get burnt. But we've got safety labels and stickers on there. Under here, that we've got a range of different safety labels. But we when we were first speaking about this with a school, the traditional precious plastic injection machine, you pull down on a big lever. The first thing someone said was, "And what happens when a kid walks into that lever, or when that lever hits them on the head? Or how many kids is it going to take to pull that lever down?" It was just right, because we know it's not easy. You've got to put your weight behind it, and you can't have 3 kids hanging off the end of this.
Right.
You could, but it might cause a little trouble.
Falls over and everything else happens.
Whereas anybody can do this.
Yes.
That's really easy. And so it was just about making it easier, fun, and interactive.
Cool.
But it had to be safe. So that was the number one when we designed these. And we, the precious plastic plans are fantastic. They're open source. They're free. We built them, but we also found that for us, they weren't practical. For what we wanted to do with what we're doing here, they weren't practical. So we had to redesign, redevelop. But also, if we wanted to sell them, which we do, because this is of growing interest to people in Australia. No one's providing the buying option. You can build them, but not everyone is a fabricator, or has the skill set to weld. So to provide an option to buy a machine. Schools are very much like that. We've just sold 3 of our machines to a school. they can pick them up and they can have them installed. Whereas if they were to just build them, it would take a lot longer. They'd need different skill sets, and then they have to muck around with the safety side of things. It's a bigger process. So we're able to provide a machine that someone can buy, and we can
satisfaction.
Yeah, but also, the liability side of things. If we send a precious plastic machine with a big long barrel, so such as this one here, long barrel with the band heaters exposed, there's liability concerns there. So yeah, for us, we had to redesign to sort of make it safer to be able to provide to our community.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's very important when working with kids or any community sort of projects, which is why we decided to go with a manufacturer like you guys. So now we've talked a bit about this beautiful extruder machine that we're going to get hopefully in a very beautiful blue. We're can't wait to see the first sexy machine with our branding. Very excited. We just did the first down payment and hope to have the first one in January if everything goes well. Yeah, and people will love the picture, by the way. They were excited about the machine and thought it looked really sexy. So yeah.
Cool.
We have a friend whose daughter's name's Zephyr, so she thought it was great.
Oh, good. That's great.
But yeah, so this is basically the second step of the recycling process. The first step will be the shreddering, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about the shreddering process and what machine you're working on that will work for our sailboats.
Sure. So I guess it timed well with when we started chatting about this. We were starting to look into making a small shredder to sell alongside the benchtop extruder, because you're right, that's the first step. You get the plastic, it needs to be broken down into smaller pieces to be able to go through here. And for us, our machines that we sold we've got our benchtop extruder, we've got a large extruder, we've got an injection machine which has a handle, so you pull it down, it's got a lot of high pressure. And we sold a granulator, and the granulator is a really big industrial machine. It runs on 3-phase power, and it's suited to commercial settings or universities, but it's not set up, it's not suitable for boats or for smaller companies or hobbyists or organizations to go well with this machine. So we started to design a small machine we were looking at hand cranked, and it's actually, I'm not sure if you can see this little machine next to me here. Your little thumbnails are in the way on my screen, so I can't see. But yeah, that was our first sort of prototype, and that had it's got a 2-blade system. It's made of acrylic because people love to see what's going on. You can see lots of viral videos of shredding. So we thought if you can see in there, that's the best thing. But the idea was that you couldn't put your hands in there. When it was hand cranked, you're sort of in control. But what we found was that's a lot of work. You're cranking something like this, and then you've got to go over here and you crank something over here. It's quite the process. So we thought, okay, like it's good because there's no power. But if you wanted to do a production run, then it's probably not suitable. And what's the first thing you're going to think to do? How do I put a motor on there? So because like it was great when I first had it. I'm like, this is fantastic. People are going to love this. And then I thought, I'm going to try to do a proper run. And yeah, it was just tiring. With this particular one, you need to re-shred the flake. So the first cut, it probably looked like this. And then you'd collect it and you'd have to put it back in and do it over and over. Now, like I mentioned, this machine is great for 3 to 5 millimeter granules. So I'll bring that close.
That's really that's really small.
That's really small. So you'd probably be putting that plastic through 3, 4, 5 times. That's again a lot more work. So if we put a motor
bottle
on,
caps,
so this is big one.
I said the bottle caps would be a really tricky.
It's like some are. So the low density ones are pretty easy, but the high density ones they're a little bit more rigid. Polypropylene's even more rigid.
That's really rigid.
So we needed something. I guess a motor that had a lot of power behind it, but wasn't power hungry. So I'm not sure if you can see it because I can't see it. There's a little motor here that we tested, and the idea is it's got a speed control on it. So you can go faster or slower. You can go reverse and forward. and we've actually had to redesign the whole thing. So this is the prototype. I'm actually going to have to take it apart and do something else with it. But we're going back to a single blade system that's sort of closer to the precious plastic system, just a different design and scaled down. So it's scaled down. It'll be a sort of a little benchtop unit like this as well, running on a motor. So you can put your plastic in and you can come over here and you can do your work and you can sort of work between the two. So that's something that we're working on at the moment. We're still in the prototyping phase. So we've got our first components back, I think, last week, and we're going to be assembling this week. And then once we're there, we'll hopefully not have to make too many more changes from there. But yes, that's coming. We'll release that once we're a bit closer.
Yeah, we're very excited about that one.
Yeah.
And that will be energy consumption wise, it will be similar to the benchtop extruder, I think you mentioned, right?
Yep, similar or less. Yeah, we're hoping for around the same. So it's domestic power, 240 volt here. But yeah, we'll have to check what the rating is on the motor. It just depends on which motor we end up with.
Okay.
We're trying for as small and as powerful as possible, because like you would have seen with the precious plastic shredders, they had a particular torque rating and motor size. So we need to obviously scale that down, make it still efficient. It needs to be, productivity wise, it needs to be suitable for what we're trying to achieve. So just finding the right fit.
Yeah, we worked with the precious plastic shredder with the one blade, with the one X1, and we did that manually in the beginning as well, and it was it was a lot of we needed a lot of beers to make it through the shredding
one person
process.
had a pipe wrench, the other person was turning the thing really at the same time.
Yeah, no, it was and we just we noticed that we weren't really recycling a lot because it was just it was so tedious to do the shredding, and it took such a long time, and then we put a big motor on it, but then all of a sudden we had like a 60 kilo machine that was like initial starting power of 4 kilowatt, which only Maria's boat was able to handle. So it was
barely at times. It bogged the generator down sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. So with precious plastic want people like us and yourselves to be able to benefit not only by saving plastic, but cover your costs, make money off this, sell products. And that's where it's really important for, coastal communities to look at this and go, well, we can do this. We can solve our waste problem.
Definitely.
We can sell back to, our community, create an economy. And if it takes too long to make something, it's very expensive. So, let's say if for example, it took the same amount of time and effort to make this carabiner as to make an iPhone case. You'd choose the iPhone case because it's got a higher value, but you need to sort of, it's the input and the output. You need to focus on making sure that it's quick and efficient to obviously get your costs down, because if labor's so expensive, you can keep those costs down and you can keep the cost down at the end user, then you're able to sort of provide that solution. If you've got two people shredding plastic, it's a really expensive process.
Yes, and it's already in our case, so much money and time goes into the collecting and the sorting and the cleaning already. So the hand crank version, that's nice for schools and stuff, so people can, it's fun if kids can like work with the hand or with the bicycle version or something. But if you really want to have a workspace on land, you need a bigger shredder. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly right. You need something that'll provide you with the plastic you need so you can produce. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be worrying too much about the shredding. You
need an end product right away.
Exactly.
And we have another, Terry has asked, why can't we clean up the plastic, teach the islanders to clean up the beach, then sell it back to the manufacturer to recycle it, would keep the beach and water clean and would put money in the local pocket. I guess we were just talking about the community recycling possibilities, but our idea is that the people don't only collect the plastic but they also shred it and do the manufacturing at the place where they're at, because then they can also keep them, sell the products and then create income streams from it. Yes, I guess you could sell the shreds back to the manufacturers, but then you have a very long shipping process, I guess, involved, where it's probably not very sustainable in that manner. As in, it's in our opinion, it's better to do the production locally, like clean locally, recycle locally, and sell locally to keep everything in one spot. I don't know how you see that, Piers.
Yeah, I agree. Keep it close. You know, there are, like, if let's say next door was a commercial, plastic manufacturer, it's a lot cheaper and easier for them to buy the bag of virgin plastic than it is to buy recycled plastic. And let's say they're buying recycled plastic from Costa Rica by the ton, it's going to be a very expensive,
Yes.
process for them.
Right.
And obviously the miles that it travels is really expensive on the planet. So that's something to consider. If you kept it local, let's say you had a group of people that were collecting plastic, a group of people that were producing products, and a group of people that were buying. It's very circular.
Yes.
on an island or in a community, and they're able to use their waste. It's just like if someone was to live on a boat, and they had to buy products from the mainland, and then they didn't have what do you do? Throw it overboard? What do you do with your rubbish? So if you were able to turn your rubbish into something, let's say lures for your fishing rod, something that you're able to use, straight away, that's amazing. So again, on an island, if you can keep it together, but people are using the products as that were waste, that's the precious plastic model. That's the best
That's
thing.
for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very true.
Regulations.
And then we have another question. Would it be possible to have a manual crank as well as a motor on the shredder, just in case you run low on power or want to let the kids burn some energy?
Guess you'd have to disengage
Can we do that
somehow.
Piers?
You got to figure out how to disengage the engine, the motor.
Yeah, no, you know what? It is possible. And so with this particular one, we've got it's got a shaft. So let's say I think it's a 14 millimeter shaft, and the motor has a 14 millimeter shaft. So we put a coupling and we connect the two together. If you take the coupling and the motor off, you've just left with the shaft. So if you, for sure, you've got a hand crank. So for example, you could use a if I've got one here,
A winch handle.
or a torque wrench, something with a long handle, that absolutely. Yeah. So that's absolutely possible, because in that way,
So
you've
that
got
will be
enough
possible
leverage.
with the model that you're working on?
I think with this one, what we need to do would be have, I guess, a shaft that can go into a coupling. That's not a problem. So that's totally fine. What it would mean though is, so if you're going to do that, is finding a handle that's long enough.
That's long enough.
So for example, if I was using,
you definitely need a torque wrench then, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, or if I was using something this small,
my
my circle is a lot smaller.
Right.
It's going to take a long time to get through plastic, and it's going to be really hard. Whereas you've got better leverage going this way.
Sure.
And again, if you made an even longer handle, or two long handles with both the kids sort of on there, then it's certainly possible. Yeah.
Heck, get up to the helm station. Let's go.
Exactly. That'd be cool.
So So certainly, I think that's a great idea. I think to be able to if you've got if you want to burn some energy, or if you don't want to take up some of your power, I think that's good.
Yeah,
well, definitely
I think
for boats, we have tendencies that our power is not acceptable. It's good to be able to have options.
Yeah, when there's not too much sun. That's really great. That's good to know. Nice. Awesome. So does anybody from our guests have any more questions to Piers? Otherwise, I would like to know a little bit. Maybe you can say what your future plans are with Precious Plastic Melbourne. Like, what's your ideas for the next years?
Yep. So now we are manufacturing for other people. So we're still manufacturing our perfect press products for Cremajo, but in between we are manufacturing for a number of companies, and it's growing. There's more and more interest, and if you can show, like we do, that we actually we're not bullshitting. We actually call this, pardon my language, no bullshit recycling. It's not.
Like it.
It's real. And we show you that it's real, and your customers can see that it's real. It's not saying, oh, these came from ocean plastic. And realistically they didn't, or how would you prove that? We can prove everything. So that's really important. So we're getting lots more customers that are interested in working with us, probably long-term projects as well, but also putting these machines in hands of schools, community groups, small business. We don't see other precious plastic workspaces as competition. we see them as our community. You know, there is
Mhm.
a lot of work to be done. We're not
Yeah.
competing. We're all working toward
We're
the
all
same
fighting
thing, is
for
to
the same
reduce
goal.
waste.
Yeah.
Exactly, we're reducing waste, and we can't wait for the big guys to do it. The community needs to be involved, and this is putting that power into the hands of our community. So we're working hard on getting our production times down. We were originally buying parts per machine. Now we're buying inventory. You know, so we're ready to go a lot faster. Because we also were aware that supply chain issues are happening. You know, we have we've been working on this barrel here for quite a while. We were originally buying it from China, and we've decided we want to find a local solution. And we've been working with a machinist, and he'd been saying for 10 weeks that, yep, I'll get it done. I'll get it done. And 10 weeks, you know, was sort of enough for us to say, you're not going to get it done. Let's just grab the steel and we'll take it somewhere else. You know, so finding those solutions is important. So that's something we're working on. But to be able to make as many of these as possible, get them into as many hands as possible, is our goal. And seeing where it all takes us. I think like trying different methods of recycling. Again, we're building the sheet press. With the sheet press, we're able to make a new style of product. Our bread and butter is injection molding at the moment. But if we can make furniture or larger pieces, or provide a raw material to customers, then that's an amazing sort of venture we want to explore.
Great.
And a larger impact in number wise, because I mean, you can just recycle so many more kilos of plastic with those sheets. It's really amazing.
Yeah. Exactly. Speaking of that as well, so we I didn't show you this, but these we've got some bricks back here. So we're also working on, you know, that's 1.3 kilos of plastic. You know, if you can, that there is a really heavy little brick. If you can,
it's like a little Lego, massive Lego.
That's right. If you can build with these, you know, if they can be built with, whether it be small structures, temporary structures, it's a good way of using a lot of plastic.
Yes.
You know, for good. So things like this is what we want to sort of put our time into. You know, working out how else can we use the plastic. What else can we do with it? What I guess problems can we solve or provide solutions for?
Well, definitely.
That's really great. I put a link into the comments as well if people want to support your work. I put the link to supporting your project in the comment section.
So thanks.
And maybe one last question. Now you're working with us as sailors, but it's not the only sailing related work that you're doing. I think you're also having another corporation that has to do with sailors or the sailing community.
Yeah. Yep. So we were put in touch with Parlay, and they have asked us to travel up to Sydney, which is 1,000 kilometers up Australia for us, to do a presentation at the Sail GP for a group of I think there are 16-year-olds or 16 plus year olds, about 30 or 40 of them. We're doing a presentation. We're taking up the benchtop extruder, and it's, I guess, for them, the sailing community, it's really important. They're in touch with nature, and they're in touch with the beaches, and they can see as they sail through or as they get on their boats that, you know, there is a plastic problem out there. And it doesn't have to just be a problem. You know, you can look at that and go, well, that could be turned into this. You know, we can all value plastic and rubbish, you know, differently. We don't call it rubbish. Let's stop calling it rubbish. Let's call it money. You know, because if you look at it differently, you can turn it into something precious, and it'll be clean. People will pick that up.
Definitely.
So that's where communities like that are really important. And like yourselves, it's in your face constantly. In a natural, beautiful environment, it's pretty sad. So if people can look at that as not something that's sad, I'm going to go and grab that, I'm going to use that, then that's what we're really interested in. So yeah, we're working with them next weekend actually. So that should be pretty fun.
That's great. That'll be fantastic.
Yeah, we can't wait to see your work with them as well. Yeah, we have the same that whenever we go to the beach now, I mean, it's still obviously very depressing and sad to see the plastic, but at the same time, we're like, oh, look at this beautiful color. Oh, look at that green over there, or look at this blue. and we do.
perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does feel a bit strange, but it has changed our mindset completely on how we look at the plastic that we see, that we're surrounded with.
Yeah.
But
Well, I see it in, we actually get a lot of questions now of people, they say, oh, I want to make this or that out of ocean plastic. Ocean plastic has a value. You know, people
Yeah.
want ocean plastic because it obviously
Yes.
means something.
Yeah, it's
Whereas
very
if it was
connected
just a
to them.
garbage, if it's just the
Yeah.
garbage patch, it's garbage. People are not
Right.
thinking ocean plastic. It's a nice way of putting it, and they're thinking, oh yeah, I want that plastic. That has its
yes.
value. You know, they're
Yeah.
not saying I
It's
want the I want the gutter plastic. I want the I want the ocean
You
plastic.
never know.
You know, so it has it's weird, right? It's rubbish that has a value.
That's definitely
And that's great. That's
a
the
connection
best
for
thing.
everybody. In some
Yeah.
way, I guess.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
whole
it's cool.
marketing scene has developed a lot around that topic, which is great for organizations like us because it shows that people are interested in this kind of work
Yeah.
and they're willing to spend money on products that are made from ocean plastic, which is
Absolutely.
really awesome. Yeah. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I think we're about halfway through our funding right now with our machines. I also put the link to our Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign into the comments in case anybody wants to support our recycling fleets and
Everybody
at the
sees what
same
we're getting, these great machines.
exactly
Yeah.
at the same time support Precious Plastic because that's Precious Plastic Melbourne because that's where we're going to invest most of the money from the crowdfunding campaign into to get those beautiful machines that Piers has showed us today. Yeah.
I'd say most importantly, but more than funding the machines, it's funding the impact of those machines. If you think about like yourselves, myself, I don't stop talking about what we do.
No, we
So
get so excited
if you,
about it.
that's right. So think about the machines going on the boats and traveling around and speaking to so many
yeah.
people. The impact is the most important thing. So
Insane.
that's what you're funding with this. It's not me building it for you or you having it. It's what you're doing with it and what you can show people that is possible. And the impact of so this little machine can get through a lot of plastic, as can the ones we're building. So it's really about that impact. I think it's a great mission that you're working on.
And it is.
I think we should hire you as our press speaker.
That's right.
You can record it. You can use this. Clip.
Yes, I love it. I think we have to cut that out, and then we're definitely gonna put it into the next thank you video for our crowdfunding campaign. We're gonna cut you in there and say like, "Hey, listen to this." No, but you're
Cool.
very right, and it's not only for us. It's not only the communication about the potential that these machines have, but also then the follow-up work that we do with In Motion, hopefully providing the communities with the machines for the community so they can recycle on the spot and have their own little
the impact of watching the locals deal with the machines has always been amazing. Just their eyes of saying, oh my gosh, that goes in there and it creates this like in their minds.
Because people don't exactly, people don't know. People think and we have curbside recycling here. We have a bin that gets collected weekly or fortnightly, and you go, oh great, it's done, it's being recycled. This bottle is going to become another bottle. We don't know what happens. Whereas people can see this and go, I can't imagine, I can't work out what's happening here. And what color is coming out next. When we take these out, we take out red, yellow, blue, and we mix, we put a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow in the next one, and people, you can't get rid of people. They're just going, what's the next color going to be? So it's just, they're really cool.
It is pretty exciting. Well, thank you so much, Piers, for joining us this morning on your end, this night on our end. It's been super interesting, and we can't wait to get our hands on those beautiful machines. And we're very happy about this collaboration. Thank you very much for your time.
As are we. No worries. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Then thank you everybody for joining us today. We were a small private group here today, but maybe we had some other people joining over Facebook. I don't know if you had a look, Maria.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, great. That was nice then. And last time we forgot to tell about the next upcoming event. This time we won't forget about that. It's not online yet, actually, but we'll share the link next week to the next crowdcast. It's going to be on Saturday next week, and it's going to be at 5 p.m. GMT. So we're going back to our old time. Next time we're going to talk to one of our project partners in the Las Perlas Islands in to the Eco Center Saboga. So make sure you tune in next week as well, because that's going to be our second last crowdcast within this crowdfunding campaign. Yeah, thank you so much for everybody joining us today, and let's see you next week. Hopefully.
See ya.
Alrighty, goodbye.
Bye.